With Springtrap coming to Dead by Daylight in a merely couple days, I find it to be the best time for me to give my opinion, all the news about him, the skins, what I think is if this is a good collaboration or a bad one. So we're just gonna get started. Dead by Daylight is a really underrated game, and I feel like people don't appreciate how good the devs listen to the players. Now, of course they do make some mistakes sometimes, but I feel like this was a good idea for them to bring FNAF into the game. Because FNAF has a fan base that usually don't get to see like 3D games like this, and when they do, like in Security Breach's case, they suck. No hate to any of the Security Breach fans, I'm just merely saying the truth. Due to that, the FNAF fanbase have become like really appreciative of what they get. So I feel like this is a really good idea for them to take it. Because even if they do make mistakes, the FNAF fandom is still gonna love it.
To do about crime in our city?
A lot. Because that's what Jesus wants. 9/11 was bad.
I agree with that. What are your plans for cleaning up our environment?
9/11.
What about our traffic problem?
9/11.
But I feel like this fandom appreciating what they get just really helps me defend them for some of the weird things they've done. For example, the FNAF movie really wasn't that good of a movie from the outside person's view, like someone who's not a fan of the series. But the FNAF fandom loved it. They were digging it up. They were munching like a Thanksgiving dinner. And they really loved it. Even though it's not a good movie, they appreciate it. Because this is a game that originated from a point-and-clicker game. So you can't expect that much from this series. And I feel like that's a perk in a flawed fandom, because this fandom does have a lot of problems. Another reason I feel it was a smart idea they picked FNAF was because it's just a wide range of characters they have to choose from. They could have done the Mimic, Freddy, Baby, Ennard. I could keep going. They have so much characters they could have done, but obviously they were gonna do Springtrap, as in he's one of the biggest horror icons ever, so I feel like it makes sense that they picked him, of course. William being so big as a character that he could probably carry his own game, let alone a collab with Dead by Daylight. And I feel like he's almost to that point where if you ask any horror fan if they know who he is, they most likely do. He's almost getting to that like Joker status of popularity. But with all that said, let's actually get into what they've shown so far. From the Dead by Daylight 9th anniversary live stream, they gave us a short teaser trailer that shows Springtrap in like a red mist, just showing his silhouette in the back or farming. With a array of different clips and pictures from what we could see in the map. As in this one, it shows a room with multiple empty Freddy Fazbear heads, including Bonnie and Chica, of course, which I feel like I have to mention this, they have really good renders. It's really hard to put a character that's really never been seen in 3D, except like the VR games, into a 3D game such as this, but I feel like they did a really good job. He does look a little wacky, but they did a good enough job to where like it's not like, ew, it looks so weird and ugly. And of course, there's gonna be that side of the FNAF fandom, the nostalgia-blinded ones. They're gonna be like, well, the game looks horrible, and the renders look horrible too. And to that I say, in this one we can see the outside of the Freddy Fazbear's location. And a notable thing is this is the FNAF movie outside location. So most of this is from the FNAF movie. And as we can see in future things I'll show, it also has the William Afton from the movies. Lastly, because I don't want this video to be too long, we have this one that shows a bloody floor and the FNAF animatronic standing on stage, scarily. I'm not sure if that's a word. But I feel like it's fun to get a full 3D map of the restaurant, because usually in games we don't get to see that much except some corners of it by a crappy old camera. So I feel like it's good that we actually get to see what the location looks like, even if it's from the movie. Now, finally what we've been waiting for, Springtrap himself, and I have to give where credit is due, they did a really good job transporting him into 3D, and I mean a really good job. Have you seen in the gameplay clips, he looks really good with his dark, like crap pea color. I don't really know what to describe its greenness, but they did a really good job, especially if not overdoing the gore, right? Especially since this is a horror game, you'd think he'd be all bloody, but I'm glad they didn't make him all nasty and bloody instead of focusing on the animatronic himself, which they did a really good job at. But not only do we get base Springtrap, we also get some skins, such as Glitch Trap, which is one I didn't really expect, since he's a digital character. We also have, well, Matthew Willer Springtrap from the movie, which is once again more evidence that this is leaning towards the movie more than the game. We have Clown Springtrap from the AR game, which I thought was odd because that game's shut down now, but I'm still glad that they're mentioning it at least, because from my perspective, that game was really good actually. And finally, we have Toxic Springtrap, which actually looks really good, and I'm glad they added him. He was a really cool design in the AR game. But there's one thing I must add. Dead by Daylight, if you're listening to this, please add Scraptrap. He is so hated by the fandom. If you add him, please, it would be so nice from us, like 5 Scraptrap fans. Just please add him. Please, pretty please. I'll pay so much. So, here's my opinion on this, and this might be a little controversial, but I feel like this is actually bad for the game. I know, I'm hurting some of your feelings by telling you this, but the FNAF fandom does have an ego problem, just like Undertale fandoms. And what I mean by that is they really think that they have, like, the biggest horror franchise ever, which, of course, they have a big franchise, but it's not even the best. They think they have, like, the best lore ever, and they really have an ego problem with that. And also, Springtrap is gonna be hated by the Dead by Daylight community, and that's for the simple fact is that thousands of FNAF fans are gonna want to play him, and it's just, all the servers are gonna be filled with Springtrap. It's gonna be really annoying. So they're probably gonna be like, Five Nights at Freddy's made Dead by Daylight big again, which, no you didn't. Dead by Daylight is a really big game with thousands of daily players. You didn't make it big. Yes, you increased the player count, but that's gonna die down anyways, because most of you Five Nights at Freddy's fans can't play a game like this. Especially since what I've been seeing, he looks like a really overpowered character, which we're gonna talk about his gameplay shortly. And that doesn't mean I'm not excited for this collab, because I really am. I'm so glad to see FNAF be put next to all these giant horror icons like Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Ghostface, all these giant horror icons. We finally get to see us FNAF fans have something that big. Especially since we're finally getting to that point where we're actually getting really popular. Especially with the movies coming out, books, games, VR games, even a live like attraction was out for a minute. I feel like this game is really getting big, and I hope this isn't meaning we're probably going to be done with the series soon. I hope it goes on for like another 10 years. If that does sound crazy, I know, but, you know, I'll make an opinion on that later. But yeah, that's my opinion on it, but I want to go into gameplay a little, because he has interesting mechanics we need to talk about. One thing I must mention before we get into gameplay is I'm not that big of a Dead by Daylight fan. Like, I don't play the game that much. Of course, I have played it. Like, I know the mechanics of the generators and stuff, but I don't know the complex stuff, like all the perks and all that. But I feel I know just enough where I can give an opinion on the gameplay of Springtrap and also what perks he has. Also, by the way, there will be Dead by Daylight content coming out soon, trust me. Not just because of the FNAF collab, but, well, actually, that is a big contender on why. But also, because I've been wanting to make a series on this. And I'm going to play different characters, of course, okay? Don't be scared. I'm going to play more than just Springtrap. I'm going to be Michael, Freddy Krueger, and Leatherface. So, from what I've seen from the gameplay and what the developers told us, he's a grabby character. He grabs a lot. He grabs when he goes out of the doors. He can grab characters. He's a really grabby character, which I always thought Springtrap would be that type of guy. He's more of a tank. That's what I always envisioned him in. Not like crazy fast, but like a slow tank. And of course, I was right. His weapons are a throwable fire axe and a kitchen knife, which I wouldn't really think he would have a kitchen knife yet. Then I realized he works and owns a pizzeria with, like, knives. So, after giving a little bit of thought, I'm actually not too surprised he uses something like a kitchen knife. Though it is a little silly, I still feel like it fits his character. Especially the axe, because if you look back in all the old FNAF animations, and weird art and girls like wetting their pants over a child murderer, he always is envisioned holding a fire axe, and this finally proves that he does. Which, I'm not sure where that idea came from. I guess it's because, like, the FNAF 3, the ending is fire, so you would think, like, he willed the axe to, like, break out, which I guess makes enough sense, but never in any canon, like, game or book has he ever used the axe. A weapon, neither. I don't think he's ever held a weapon. But he has this cool mechanic they added where the doors, he can go through them, players too, and he can teleport through the map, which I'm not sure, like, canalizes that he can teleport, but it's still a really interesting mechanic. Also, they do give us a backstory for him, which I was really interested in, because that means they have to give us actual lore of the character. I'll read it, but in like a shorter way. Pretty much, it just explains the backstory we all know, where he was a child murderer, and eventually he was chased down by the ghost of the children he murdered, which then he put on the suit and was crushed, also known as spring-locked. Which then it tells us that his vision faded into the dark, and once he woke up, everything was molded and broken down. He smelt like doo-doo. That's not actually what they say, of course. I'm just saying random stuff. Then he stood up and just started running, which confirms, by the way, I don't know why some of you think Springtrap's a slow guy. He is sprinting. They literally say Springtrap is sprinting around because he hears children laughing. He thinks it's just like them mocking him, but no. Because it turns out he's already taken by the Dead by Daylight entity, forced to kill people for all of eternity, which for some reason he already knows that, which is just cool, I guess. But one thing I kind of find funny is that, of course, he's chasing the noise of children, just like in FNAF 3, where he chases the noise of children. I don't know what's up with him and, like, laughing children. I think he just, like, hates children being happy. Here, let's test it right now. Wait.
You will not be spared.
But yeah, I feel like it's really cool how they gave us like this really detailed summary of how he died and his backstory, which we usually don't get in FNAF because most of the lore is surrounded and smoked away from a bunch of like weird mysteries we have to figure out beforehand. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know about Springtrap himself. But there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that's the new voice line we get for him. Oh yeah. Now of course I gotta be a downer and say something bad about it. I know, I'm so evil. And that's, the voice lines are kinda corny. Some of them. I still think it's cool how he actually speaks. Because yes, we've seen Scraptrap speak, but William in like FNAF 3 never spoke. So it's kinda cool we got to see what he sounded like before he got burnt again. I'll just play some clips of some of his voice lines and you guys can just like tell me what you think about it in the comments.
You will not be spared. You will not be saved. I can taste the fear in your breath. Hide if you want. It did not save the others. It will not save you. Do you really think you'll be able to run away from me?
Yeah, see? Also, the Matthew Willer one, like from the movie, I'm pretty sure he has his own voice lines. And I feel like that's really cool because Matthew Willer is eventually going to become, like, the human William Afton. What you would think he looks like as a human. And that's really cool because he's going to become the newer FNAF fans, like, version of William. Also, it cuts that idea that William is some, like, gay guy with a ponytail. I don't know where you guys got that idea, but stop it. Okay, I know I said the voice lines were the final thing, but I forgot to talk about the death animation, which, holy shit, it is so cool. Look real quick.
I have claimed you.
If you're like me, you're probably like shaking from how cool that is. That's probably one of the most bloody and gory things we've ever seen in FNAF media. way he, like, shoves him into that suit. I'm not sure what that suit is. It kind of reminds you of the dead Freddy from the movie. But it's really cool. It's really cool. You can't lie. That is rad. And I was thinking, like, his kill would be that he shoves you in a spring lock suit. But, this is also cool. Cool enough to where, it's not... There's no way you can talk bad about it. It could have been better, of course. But I feel like this is perfect. Now, I'm leading into my couple last things I want to talk about, and that's just my recommendations on if Dead by Daylight wants to do more FNAF, who they could add. Starting off, I would love for them to add playable FNAF 1 characters. I'm talking about the original game. Freddy, Chica, Foxy, Bonnie, and of course that's asking for a lot. That's 4 characters that would have to have unique weapons, unique, voice lines, but if they really want to make a bag, I feel like they should at least add 1 more character. That could be either Freddy, Ennard, the Mimic. I would love, especially since his new game coming out, which I will play on release, I promise. It would be really smart to add the Mimic, especially since he's leaning into the new villain of the series. It would be perfect to add him along Springtrap, or Ennard, or Golden Freddy, which would be a really a predictable character to add, which would be also really cool. Or you could go the basic route and do Freddy if you want. Oh my god, don't listen to me then. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. It's a good update. There are, of course, some flaws, as in the fan base probably gonna, yap about how they're the best franchise ever, which they're not. And also how Springtrap is probably gonna be hated by the Dead by Daylight community, because he's gonna be so overused. But other than that, I don't really see any bad things about this. So, with nothing else to say, I hope you guys enjoyed my video, my yap session. And I hope you come back for more of my content. Go, look, please. I get 22 views per video. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.